Good morning. Welcome to another episode of xah Talk Show. You see, whenever it's around 5 o'clock in my abode, in my apartment, this window, this light shines on my face like a line. Sometimes I don't even notice. So let me start. Today we're gonna talk about JavaScript, and I'm going to explain JavaScript object system with the most clarity you'll ever hear. You'll hear a representation of describing the JavaScript system, the computer language in general, computer language in a way that's what I would call a mathematical style, and you rarely see them anywhere. Okay, so let's put the date. So while I wait for people to come in, and let's see what so this is my xah Talk Show page, and you can see xah Talk Show 17th, I mean April. Copy paste that and others. Okay, JavaScript object system and others. Let me put the title here, copy paste. So we got one guy watching. Hi. Say hi in the chat window. And so we're gonna talk about JavaScript object system. But before we do that, let's do some excursion excursion into let me start xah-start-command-log mod. You see, this is a this will show my emacs command. However, you see, when I call this command, I want to remove this panel. So there's one more step that's not in my command. So let's fix that. I'm going to show you this emacs command, xah-start-command-log mod. Open that. So here's the code, and we're just going to add a command called delete window. Okay, add it here, tap, and that's good. Evaluate it. Okay, so you see, this is a code. Just copy it. It will basically start the command log mod. So let me start again. Emacs miscellaneous. Yeah, save. Okay, let's go to my terminal and start Emacs. That's how I start Emacs. Great, my Emacs is here. Now let's go back to Emacs, and let's see, switch here. Now I'm going to call the command. You cannot see. Hold on a second. Let me adjust the window this way. Okay. Let me call the command xah-start-command-log mod. You see, now it's good. You see, I don't have to do the extra step of removing that panel. Okay, let's go back to xah Talk Show. That's the Emacs command. Then let's do JavaScript object system. And are we here yet? One guy watching. Okay, and and let me wait for a while. Let me do this keyboard page. Okay, there is this interesting keyboard. Let's go to twitter.com, and I'm going to show you the keyboard. Let's turn on the JavaScript. You kind of need JavaScript to log into Twitter. Okay, let's go to notifications. And there is this keyboard I want to add to. Now I'm going to show you this thing, and that is also Emacs demo. So if you are an Emacs user, this would be great for you. So you see, she posted these photos, and let me show you. Open it, Yeah. Okay, one, two, three photos. We're gonna right click, open image. Okay, right click, open image. Right click, open image. Now switch tab, save this file as EE Okay, anything starting with EE. Okay, in my download folder. Save it, close. Save EE2. Save, close. Save EE3 in downloads folder, close. Now back to Emacs. Now go to my keyboard block. Open, show in browser. Now this is my keyboard block. Now if you go down to fun keyboards, and you will see this funky keyboard. Oh, actually not fun keyboard. Fun keyboard is over here. Let's see if I am showing the window. Hold on a second. Okay, I'm still here and I'm showing the window. Okay, so this window needs to be go like that. Okay, anyway, fun keyboards. So these are a bunch of very interesting keyboards. And you go down here and you will see this Chinese character drum keyboard. Let's magnify. Okay, so this Chinese character drum. You see, you got this keyboard and it's full of keys like a drum kit. But actually, so this is actually April Fools from Google Japan. So, so some nerds created this, actually build this keyboard. They are like dummy keyboards. There's no electronics. It's just for the looks. So and they put all these characters on the keyboard. Um, but if you actually read Chinese, they don't make sense because many of these characters are not used. Rarely. You know, you hardly see them once in a year. So I'm going to add, so apparently, so this is back in 2010, so it's 9 years old, April Fools. And apparently she is a Japanese. Apparently she went to some kind of museum in Japan and saw this keyboard, so she took some photos. So we got new photos and I'm going to add it to my keyboard blog. So how many people watching? Two people. Say something here. Say something here, guys. Say hello. Hello. Not hello, but hello. Okay, let's back to the keyboard. So I'm going to. So I already saved the keyboard. So let's copy the URL. Copy it. Switch to Emacs. Open the file. Then I'm going to go down, update the block date, and let's just add it here for now. Actually, let's go down here. Let's look at where I want to add them. I want to add them below this. Okay, Chinese input methods. Let's see, search Chinese input method. Okay, it's right here. So I'm going to add here. So I just call the command that some move image file, and where do I want to save it to? Okay, the directory I, and let's just say yes. Okay, now view in browser, go down, go down, go down, go down. You see we got it here. Let's do another one. IE2. Okay, IE. Okay, that's all added here. So back to browser, refresh. You can see I have added them here. This is very super convenient command. Actually, I talked about yesterday. Some move image file. It will automatically move the image, any file starting with the name EE, from a certain directory, such as download directory, desktop, and move it to where you want it to be, and create a image tag for it like that. But now let me show you another command which is, you see this EE file name is no good. I want to rename it. I could have renamed it, when it asks me to name a file, but I'm going to show you another command. So I want to rename this file. You see, I can return and open the file. You can see that file. I want to rename it. So I want to rename it like that. Okay, copy that. So call the command xah-HTML rename source file path. Okay, and I want to rename it to, let's say, drum keyboard. Okay, Chinese drum keyboard. Okay, do the same thing for this one, Chinese drum keyboard, and add a random string. Okay, you see it's here, and this one as well, rename, add a random string. Okay, save it, go to browser, reload. You see it looks the same. Now let me so that command is rename this one, xah-HTML rename source file path. Shit, the someone is my neighbor has a motorcycle. I hate those guys. They, in America, you have sometimes, these motorcyclists, they like it loud. Okay, back to 3 people watching. Okay, so let me rename it. We're gonna get into JavaScript after this, right after these few more minutes. Okay, so we have renamed them, but there's one more thing I want to do. I want to let me just show you then. Switch, show the panel, so you can see all my commands on the left. So I'm going to extract the URL. That's done. Okay, now move the cursor here, paste the URL. You see, so that command is xah-HTML extract URL. For example, I can select these two, and I press the key, and then I got the URL extracted. You can do it for the whole site. Shit, the motorcycles is really annoying. Okay, so for example, let's copy the whole file. Select it, extract URL, and those are all the URL I just extracted. And in fact, it's put into the kill ring. So I open a new buffer, and you can see. So this is very convenient if you work in HTML. Let's go back to the so I just extracted that and paste it here, and I'll do the same thing. I'll copy these two, extract the URL, delete the block, and paste it here. Then I'm gonna call another command. Look, this command is called this. Oops, actually the file name is wrong. But anyway, this one works. So I'm gonna call the command. This command is called any HTML any linkify. So basically, you see that it automatically put the text figure caption text here based on the image name, based on this image name, and it also automatically creates the alt thing. Now let's look at this file. Okay, yeah. So this file is identical to the previous one, so we don't need this block anymore. And this two, it's actually image file, but when we renamed it, we forgot to put JPEG. So so what you do? So you open the file, go to diode jump, and you see this is the file, and this is the other one. Let's rename them. So I call the command diode toggle read only and .jpeg and .jpeg. Okay, and save it. Okay, so they are renamed. So I mark them. Then I call this command copy file path. So these two file path is copied. Close it, We don't need this anymore. Paste. You see, we got the correct file path and with with a JPEG correct name. So now I link again, show in browser, go back down, and that's good. There we have it. That's what I wanted to add to my blog. A new addition. So I copy now. Last step is copy the file path of this buffer, close it, go to my keyboard blog, and go to the top here, add a new section, paste it, linkify, and say added more photos. Okay, make it a paragraph, shrink blank lines, then go back to the URL, put the cursor in the URL. Then I call this command, which is make atom entry. So basically what it does is it added these few blocks into my RSS XML file. That's good. Close it, save, go to eShell, xah interactive abbrev. It's a abbreviation, and let me choose which one I want. I want the first one, async. Yes, enter. Okay, then it's uploaded to my website. You see, we got several updates of different files. That is it. You see, so my blog shows the link, and people can go to so that is about that. So shall we get on to the JavaScript then? For people watching, break the loop. Yeah, great to see you again. That is cool seeing how you update your web page. Very proficient process. Thank you. I think let's talk about JavaScript. Let's go to xah Talk Show. Because today I made an announcement that we're gonna do JavaScript, and I'm gonna show you the JavaScript object system. I'm gonna like kind of a tutorial, and I'm going to explain JavaScript object system, or explain the computer language in a way, in a style I think you rarely see. You almost never see. And this is a kind of a mathematical style. What that means is that I tell you exactly what what a function or sequence of alphabets do exactly. Without getting into, oh, this is a pattern, or that's a method, or without all the like computer programming methodology kind of way. Okay, this is like you'll see. It's like mathematics. Everything is based on purely on logic. Okay, so let's go. Wait, not close that. So let's go to JavaScript. Yeah. So if you have any questions or comments or any other topics, just type in the comment box, and we'll talk about that after maybe 30 minutes. Yep. So let's go to JavaScript. Let's see where we're gonna be heading into, because when we talk about JavaScript, there could be a lot of topics that just come up about JavaScript. So this is my tutorial JavaScript in depth, and yeah, let's talk about that then. Okay, so JavaScript object. Okay, I have a article here. Now, if you are if you are someone who prefer to read, you don't want to waste time watching videos, then you can just go directly to JavaScript in depth, and go to this page, object overview. And it's kind of a condensed version of all the full details you can read. But let me talk about it. So JavaScript is So JavaScript has an object system, object as in object-oriented programming. However, the JavaScript object system is entirely different from Java, Python, Ruby, or C++. Okay, those languages, their object system is called class-based object system. You create a class, then you create an instance of that class. The class serve as kind of a model, kind of a mode, of what your objects is going to be, and class can inherit from other classes. So you have a kind of a class tree. Then you create a object of any class you want. So that is Java and C++, and Python's their object system. But JavaScript actually do not have that at all. I mean, it has object system, but it's so-called prototype-based object system. Okay, it's entirely different. It's nothing similar to the Java way. Okay, so if you are learning JavaScript and if you really want to get into it, it's a good thing to totally forget what you know about objects system from Java. So JavaScript object system, it's entirely different. But however, of course, however, you can, even completely different languages, you can kind of emulate. So they always have some kind of similar ideas. But just remember, JavaScript object is fundamentally different. Okay, so you don't want to think of it as a object as in Python or Java. So it's called prototype-based system. And let me also mention in JavaScript now they have a new version every year. So in 2015, they added let's see, JavaScript 2015. It's called ECMAScript. That's the official name. So they actually added a keyword called class. Let's see, class. You see, so these days, in browser when you code JavaScript, there is actually a keyword, class, that lets you define class the way similar to Java and Python. Okay, they added the keyword class, constructor, static, extends, and super. So on the surface, they appear just like the Java system, but actually, still it's entirely different. Okay, you really don't want to think of JavaScript as the object as a Java way. If you really want to understand JavaScript, a lot of people don't really understand it. You could still work in a company, for 2 years. But when deep problems occur, when some bugs occur, you get into problems. You're gonna spend hours and figure out why it doesn't work. Because you thought this is a class and that is an object, but it just doesn't work. So don't think of it like a Java or Python. The class keyword and this bunch of keywords added in 2015, they are kind of a wrapper. Okay, they are kind of a convenience. What's so-called sugar syntax. So basically, what this keyword does is that they are kind of equivalent to several. Like when you use a class, for example, I have a tutorial here, JavaScript class. Now this page teaches you about the JavaScript, the class keyword, using the class keyword to define a class. But however, it's really just a syntactic wrapper. The class keyword is kind of equivalent to like 10 lines of JavaScript that people do before there was a class keyword. So anyway, yeah, so there's this new class features, but again, don't it's entirely different from Java or Python. So let me talk about JavaScript object. Once I explain this, you'll kind of see they are totally different. So object overview. So a JavaScript object is actually don't read don't read that article now because you get distracted. So the JavaScript object is JavaScript object. Okay, first of all, let me perhaps any comments. So break the loop says that's confusing and stupid that JavaScript calls its object if they are different from C++, Java, Python objects. Yeah, you know, so so I yeah, that's an interesting topic, because I actually one time spent time to uh, dive into what does the word object mean in different languages. Actually, they mean quite different things. In Lisp, they also have a word object, used in Lisp manuals. But the Lisp object actually just mean let's see, sorry, sorry, object. What is object? So what does wait? That's meaning of object in computer languages. So that's the article you can read. So Java's got a concept of class and object, and Python's class and object is quite different from Java as well. Then Lisp's got the the word object. The object in this pretty much just means a binary blob. Okay, and JavaScript object is another thing. Not JS object is, yeah, it's a totally another thing. It's just a namespace. And C language is also has its own object. So anyway, so you see the words, in computer in programming, they got abused. Each programmer, if you only program in certain languages, you think object is that, but other programmers see it in other totally entirely different way. So anyway, so let's get back to JavaScript. So let's see. Excuse me. So let's go back to the JavaScript object. So JavaScript object is three things. Okay, before we talk about JavaScript object, let me talk about JavaScript types in JavaScript first. Yeah, okay, let me quickly cover that. Now I'm going to try to be succinct. Hopefully I succeed in covering this topic about JavaScript object. Okay, first of all, JavaScript has value. JavaScript is not a strongly typed language, and it is not statically typed. It's dynamically typed, basically meaning that when you have a variable, you do not have to declare what type it is. However, values has types, and JavaScript types are these six types. So undefined, null, boolean, string, number, symbol, and object. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 types. Now the symbol type is new in since 2015, and it's a bit exotic. But anyway, let's cover each a little bit, each type. So undefined is just it's a CD type, is the only value that belongs to the undefined type is the keyword undefined. You just the full keyword undefined. And what's the purpose of undefined? So undefined is basically anything that doesn't have a value. Just like undefined. So and null. JavaScript is a language full of warts. Full of extreme complexity and mistakes. Null is another type, and whose the only value of that type is the null keyword. So these two things are kind of funny. So you have the null type, but the only possible value for the null type is the null keyword, similar to the undefined. So what does null mean? Null is kind of a mistake in JavaScript. It basically just means it's kind of like undefined, but it's like undefined, but it's not. It's even hard to explain. But because null is actually a mistake. Okay, you can just think of it as you can think of it as a intentionally something that is intentionally undefined. Now, as opposed to undefined, the keyword undefined the value, which is just anything that's not defined, you get undefined. Now, null is more like intentionally undefined. Okay, uh, then you have Boolean type. Boolean type is just two possible values for Boolean type: true, the keyword true, and the keyword false. Okay. Then you have string. Now you are familiar with strings. You can create strings, lots of strings. Now you have number type. Now in JavaScript, unlike C or Python, you have float, int, long, double, and so on. In JavaScript, number is just a number. There's no int. There's no float. There's no distinction actually. Okay, and that's actually a mistake as well. But anyway, so a number type is just a number like 34 or 3.1. However, the number type also includes two other special keywords: nan, nan, which stands for not a number, and infinity, which is the result you get if you divide 1 by 0. Okay, so the nan and infinity, they are like keywords. I mean, they are values in JavaScript. Like you can type. I'm not gonna show you. But so they are just like undefined, null, true, false. They are just keywords that stand for a value. And so nan and infinity is also belongs to the type number. Okay, so that's a number type. Symbol type, we're not gonna talk about it. Now it comes to the object type, which is the other type we haven't covered yet. Now the object type is the all important type in JavaScript. It's kind of the most important and the most used the most critical to programmers. Okay, the object type. So now remember, these are the JavaScript types. Okay, so if you have some value in JavaScript, any value, if it's not undefined, if it's not null, not Boolean, not string, not number, and not symbol, then it's object. It's like by definition, if it's just object. Now, what does object mean? Now, okay, so let me explain JavaScript object. First of all, let me tell you what I give you a flavor. What are objects in JavaScript? For example, you have functions. In other languages, right? You have functions. You have arrays. You have functions, array. You have in other languages, function, array, list. Hash table or called dictionary in Python. So all these things in JavaScript is called object. The technical, all these list, array list, hash table, they are actually just the object type. Okay. Now, as a programmer, you of course you think a function is different from array. Obviously, function is a function, array is array, array is a data type. Function is not a data type. Function is actually, how you run a program. But however, in JavaScript, both function and array and a bunch of all other things, map, anything else, list, anything else is technically they are not they are the object type. Okay, object. Yeah, so array function is an object, array is an object. Okay, let's quickly look at some of the object. Array is an object. Iterable is also an object. Okay, yeah, so they are all just objects. Okay, objects. Now let's go back to JavaScript object overview. So they are like as far as the language is concerned, they function and array, their type is just object. There's no a different type that's called function. There is no a different type called array. Okay, they are just object. So what is the technical definition of an object in JavaScript? Okay, uh, let's talk about that. Now, the technical definition of anything object is first of all, it's a key value pairs. You've got a bunch of keys. Each key's got a value. So this is similar to hash table in Ruby, in Perl. It's similar to dictionary in Python. It's called dictionary, and in Java, it's called hash table, I think. So, yeah. So when you have a key value pair, first of all, an object is just a key value pairs. So this is actually the defining characteristics of JavaScript object. Okay, when you have something that's key value pairs, when that's a object. Technically an object in JavaScript. Now you might question, okay, you said function in JavaScript is an object. However, function is not a key value pair. So what do you mean function is the object? Okay, you are wrong. A function in JavaScript is an object, meaning that it is actually a key value pairs. So let me show you an example then. So let's open a new buffer. Let's go to xah JavaScript mod. Okay, and let's oh god, I haven't coded JavaScript for a while. Let so yeah, what we're gonna do, we're gonna demonstrate a function. Okay, we're gonna demonstrate a function that is object, a function. Okay, so function, name it f. Let's say return 3. Okay, this is just a simple function that just return 3. Okay, console log, let's call f, and let's call it and print it. I need to name the file, so let's name it xjs. Okay, it returns 3. We are calling a function. Now, but if you console log type, now type of is an operator that returns what the type is of something, some value. So if you say type of f, use okay, it says function. Now that's actually a mistake as well, because in JavaScript you do not have a type called function. But however, this is part of the reason JavaScript is extremely complex. When you use type of operator on a function, it returns actually a function string. For example, you can see I do here, I run the code, you see type of f equals to function, returns true. It returns a string function. So why does it say function? It's just for convenience, because if function and array, for example, they are all objects, but sometimes when you want to need the type of something, you need to distinguish function and array. They are obviously very different, for as far as programmer is concerned. That is why type of a function returns the name function, but actually there's no type called function in JavaScript. So this is one of the problem of JavaScript. It's extremely complex. But however, I said a function is a key and value pairs, right? You don't believe me? Let me show you an example. So let's say function. So we define the function. Let's name it ff. Let's name it ff instead of f. Okay, so that we don't confuse it with something. So let's run it. It still runs. Okay, so now ff is a function object. Now let's say dot x equals to 3. Now we assume ff is a object, and we add a property named x, and we we set the value 3 to it. Then we print console log ff. Okay, we just print it. So let's see what happens. There it is. You see, now it actually prints this. Print this. You can see now that's an object notation. That's an object. But so it's an object, but however it includes this function thing. We'll get into that why you have that. But you can see here it actually shows the key and value. X, X is a key, value is 3. In fact, you can add lots of more. You can add y equals to 4, and let's run it. And you see now you got 2 keys and value x3, y4. And actually you can see keys. You can print all keys of the FF reflect keys. Okay, so I haven't coded JavaScript for a while, but let's find out. There's a function that returns all keys of a object. List properties here. So object get on property keys. Okay, let's do this. Reflect on keys. That's the word. Reflect on keys. Okay, that's what we want. FF. Okay, and let's console log print it out. Run it. You see now it prints all keys of the object FF, the function FF. So we got length, we got name, we got arguments, we got caller, we got prototype, and we got X and Y. X and Y is what we just defined. The others are kind of built in. So anyway, so here the purpose of this is just show you that function is actually just technically a object in JavaScript. And same thing with arrays, same thing with JavaScript arrays. For example, we can 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5. That's an array. Same thing with arrays. For example, let's do this. So we just defined the array 3, 4, 5, and we try to okay, let's do this. Type of, okay, let's run it. So type of array is you see now it says object, and when we want to show all the keys of array, we got you see we got 0, 1, 2, and length. You see, array, we normally don't think of the index as keys, right? Array has indexes, but array is not a dictionary, it's not a hash table, so normally we don't consider the index as keys. But however, in JavaScript, being so screwed up, array is technically an object, and it has keys. So the keys is, we got the index is actually the keys 0, 1, 2, and you also have the length as key. Why is length as a key? Again, it's just due to the complexity of JavaScript. It's very bad language. Okay. Now let's go back to JavaScript object. So we have covered the JavaScript types. Okay, value has types. We covered all the types. Then we explained the object type. The object is kind of the heart of JavaScript, the object type. So what is the object? Now we let's talk about JavaScript object overview. So object is, first of all, object is a key value pairs. Okay, that's key value pairs. That's the most important characteristics of object. Every object is key and value pairs. Now, if it's an object such that you cannot, it doesn't have key value pairs, then it is not an object, basically, because the key value pairs is the heart of a JavaScript object. So again, here contrast, this is different from Java or Python. Okay, in Python or Java, you don't think of object as like key value pairs. Like what the hell? Key value pairs, that's hash table, that's dictionary, that's not object. So that is why JavaScript object is totally different. Okay, JavaScript object is key value pairs, just like Python's dictionary. Okay, but it's got other things. We'll talk about that. So it's key value pairs. That's the definition of JavaScript object. Um, um, uh, but but JavaScript object, they have several special objects. Now many special objects, they have kind of special things attached to it, like just one of special special behavior, such as function and array. You got all these bunch of special behaviors. Um, so let's see where we're going. So far so good. So break the loop. Do you code JavaScript? Let's see how many people are watching. 4 people. Oh, meager 4 people. Um, so JavaScript types, JavaScript object. Yeah. So let's go back to JavaScript object. So object is a key value pairs, but however, many object in JavaScript has kind of a special internal thing. For example, a function is a JavaScript object, but however, it can be called. It can be called and evaluated. So it's kind of got the special thing, as a function. Then JavaScript also has other object. For example, array. Array is a object, and array also got some kind of special thing, because array, you got the length property built in, kind of special. And also in JavaScript 2015, they added a bunch of things. They added let's see, JavaScript string, JavaScript character, iterables. JavaScript, in JavaScript 2015, they added a set object. A set is like a mathematical set. It's actually a ordered list. It's like an ordered array, except that you cannot have repetitions. So JavaScript 2015, they added this set object. Now set object, again, first of all, technically it's an object, meaning that you got key value pairs. Any JavaScript objects got key value pairs. But however, the set object is got kind of a special internal, data that actually work as a set. Like you can add elements to it. It works as a mathematical set, separate from being a key value pair. So for example, let me show you this code. So let's open a new, save it, XX JavaScript. Let's save it XX2 JavaScript. Okay. Now let's see. So we create a set, new set, and we add a few elements to it, 6, 5, 6. Then we print it. You can see it prints out 6 and 5 because a set object do not allow duplicate. So that is a set object in JavaScript 2015. Now, however, remember, a set, any object is still an object, meaning that it's actually a key value pairs. So reflect. So let's print out all the keys. So let's print the keys. SSS. Okay, let's print all the keys. of the set. You see, it's empty. It doesn't have any keys right now, but we can add it just like before. So s dot x equals to 3. Let's add some x dot y equals to 4. Let's evaluate it. Let's print keys again. You see, now it got keys x and y. You see now, and if we you see, because we actually added the key. So now remember, set is a object. So it means that it's got key value pairs. Indeed, we just added it. We just added key, and we can actually print it out. Let's see, print out the full key and value. You see, it prints here. So we got key 3, and we got key x is 3, key y is 4. But however, a set is, again, it's kind of like special. It's got internal data structures, just like function. So it's got this internal data structure that actually contains the set, the purpose of this object. But however, it's still key value pairs. So that kind of explains. So remember, a set is a object in JavaScript is key value pairs, but for many objects, it got kind of a special properties or special internal things. For example, a function is a function. A set actually contains the set data that's separate from the key value pairs. And in a similar way, JavaScript 2015 also added a map object. This is another example where it shows how JavaScript is really convoluted. Now, what's a map object? The map object in JavaScript from 2015 is actually the proper hash table or dictionary. So a map object is just like Python's dictionary or Ruby's hash table. It's the proper data type for key value pairs. Now you might be wondering, so wait, object is already key value pairs, but how come you now have like this map object that's also key value, that's the proper key value pairs? Well, the reason is because the Java, well, it just shows that how JavaScript is, a very bad language that evolves over time. So in the beginning, JavaScript is just, you got the object. Almost everything is object. Object is key value pairs. But however, it serves as a hash table or dictionary, Python dictionary. But however, it's got lots of issues. That is why JavaScript finally in 2015 they finally added a proper key value pairs called the map object. So it's really confusing because object is already a key value pairs, but now you have a map object which is also intended to be the proper key value pairs. So the map object in JavaScript, just like a normal object, you can add keys and values. You can add key value keys, but also it's got an internal data structure that functions as proper hash table or dictionary. So that's what's going on. So why do they create this? Because, for example, why do they add the map object? Because with the map object, the keys can be any type, okay? But however, the JavaScript object, the key can only be string or symbol. So that's kind of the problem. So that's why they have created the map object. So if you want your keys to be numbers, for example, integers, you cannot do that with the JavaScript object, because the object, all the keys actually are strings or symbols. But with the map object type, you can actually have integers as keys. And there are several other reasons. Okay, the other reason is the other reasons is about inheritance. We're gonna talk about because JavaScript object has inheritance. But however, when you are using hash table or dictionary, often you don't really want inheritance. Like if you want to check a key exists, you don't want it to automatically look up parents, to see if the key exists in parents or parent of parents and so on. So if you really want a data type that's hash table, you only want concern about whether the key exists in this hash table. So in the JavaScript map object, which is a hash table, you don't have to worry about looking up parent objects. So that's some of the reasons they created the map object, and that illustrates why JavaScript is very complex language. Now let's go back to JavaScript object. Okay, we are about done. So JavaScript object is key value pairs, and JavaScript object, some objects has special internal structure or special behavior, such as function or such as the set object, array object, map object, and so on, and others. Now JavaScript object has each object usually have a parent. It may or may not have a parent. What does that mean? Meaning that given a JavaScript object, it may be linked to another object that is considered its parent. Okay, so any object may have one parent, one and only one, not two. Okay, not two or more, only one. It's not possible to have two parents. So each object may have a link to another object as its parent, and of course that object may also have another parent. So you have this chain of parents, and this is called prototype chain. Okay, technically, the parent is called the prototype. So if you have an object, JavaScript object, and if another object is its parent, it's called its prototype object. Okay, you don't call you don't call it parent object, but you call it prototype object of the object. Okay. So what's the deal with prototype? I mean, why do you need parent? Now, parent is the technical definition of this parent. The significance of this parent is that when you actually look up a property in JavaScript, such as, for example, when we want to print, okay, when we print s dot x, okay, when we print s dot x, we are trying to look up property with a key x. We are trying to see what the value it is. When you do this, JavaScript will first check if x is in the object, is a key in the object. Okay. Now, if it exists, then it prints the value. For example, let's run it. It exists. It prints 3 here. You see, it prints 3. However, if it does not exist, it will actually look up the parent to see if the parent contains that key. Now, this mechanism is called inheritance. This is the technical meaning of inheritance, and it means nothing else except this. This is the only thing, the only meaning of inheritance. Okay, it is when JavaScript tries to look up a key, it will try to check up the parent. It will check up the parent. If that parent doesn't have the key, it will check up the parent of that parent, and so on until it reaches a object that has no parent. Okay, so let's try for example, let's try this. By the way, let's try this. Okay. 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 What we are doing is that we are trying to look up a key that is named toString of the object s. Okay. We're gonna run it. Then it actually returns function toString. But why is that? Because we have previously we just printed reflect on keys. We have printed out all keys of the object, and there's no key named toString. But however, here it shows actually, it prints function toString. So where does that came from? So the toString actually is a key in one of the parents of this object s. Okay, so that is why. So this happens because of inheritance. The key doesn't exist. There's no key named toString of the object s. But however, its parents or parents of parents does have that key. That's why we get this, and this is called inheritance. So this is how JavaScript works, inheritance. Okay, so that is about all it is about object in JavaScript. So JavaScript object is a key value pair, and some object has special behavioral property, and you have the concept, and each object may have another object that's linked to it, considered as its parent, and that's it about object. The significance of this parent thing is inheritance, which is how JavaScript, when JavaScript tries to look up keys, you got it may look up the parent's keys. And there's another thing about extensible property, but we skip that for now. But that's it for JavaScript, the technical definition of JavaScript object. Now so this is called prototype object system. Now that's all about it. That's all, nothing else. Now at this point you might ask the question. So you don't see the concept of a class. You don't see the concept of instantiate a object, like creating an object from class. Why is that? That's a good question, because there's no class. That's it about JavaScript object. There's nothing to do with the Java class or Python class or inherit or extending a class. Nothing like that. It's entirely different. So this is critical to remember when you. I don't know if maybe you have worked in JavaScript for a few years. It's a good idea to try to change your point of view entirely. Try to reshape your entire concept of JavaScript object from this technical definition point of view. Because once you do this, you will actually obtain clarity. Yeah. So I think that kind of covers it. 1 hour. So let me read the comments. Break the loop. Even though JavaScript's object work differently behind the scenes as key value pairs, in practice, are they used in a similar manner as Java objects? Kind of yes and no. Okay, let me talk about that. Yes and no. So no, I do not program JavaScript. Mostly Python, Java, and Bash. Okay, I plan to learn JavaScript. Okay, so there's no instantiation or extension. Yes, there's no instantiation. Yeah, there's no such concept at all. But it's fairly complex because for a typical JavaScript programmer, you will be led to think that JavaScript is like Java and Python, and in some way you can get away thinking like that. But actually, if you actually think like that, you run into lots of problems. When you will not advance. Your JavaScript skill will not advance. After some level, because then you will start to get into all sort of weird behaviors that you cannot fathom, you cannot figure out, because you are thinking of JavaScript object, like the Java or Python system. JavaScript actually tries very hard to emulate the Java system. In fact, that's the goal of JavaScript. JavaScript began in 1995, and it's the base of JavaScript. It's intended to emulate. I mean, the design is intended to emulate the scheme Lisp language, and also copy the object system from the programming language called Self. So the prototype object system came from the Self programming language. It's called prototype system, which is entirely different from Java. Okay, but however, because of commercial reasons, back in 1995, Java is very hot. Java just became Java was just invented, and some microsystems put huge millions of dollars to advertise Java, and so everyone knows about Java, but nobody knows about JavaScript. JavaScript is in the browser. I mean, they trying to pitch it. They're trying to somehow make JavaScript popular. They're trying to find a way. Nobody knows it yet. They want to announce it. So, and Microsoft, some Microsoft systems, who created Java, made a collaboration with Netscape, who creates the Netscape browser. So JavaScript tries to use some microsystems, Java advertisement, try to use that as their part of their to make JavaScript popular. So they advertise JavaScript kind of like a Java system, but the language is entirely different. But however, they made the JavaScript syntax to be like Java syntax. So they created keywords like they created keywords like you'll see. They do everything they can to make it look like Java. They look to make it look like Java, even though the language is there's no way to be like Java, because the system is entirely different. There's no way, no possible way it's like Java. It's like two entirely different things. And also JavaScript is based on scheme Lisp language, so it's like functional programming. It's a functional. You can consider JavaScript is functional programming. That's why you have the guy who created JavaScript, the good parts, the famous guy, what's his name, who created JSON. So anyway, so let me wrap up about that. Then let me read the comments. So this is why. So this is why JavaScript is very convoluted, very complex, and it on the surface it seems to the keywords and so on, it appears to be like Java or Python system, but actually it's entirely different because it's based on scheme and self language called prototype object system. Yeah, so that's why it's very convoluted. If you begin to learn JavaScript, it may appear to be like Java, and you can get away with it, but you won't get far if you know, stick with that mode of thinking. You really want to, learn the JavaScript way. Object, key value pairs, object, and object has special behaviors, and object has parents. That's it. There's no class. There's no instantiation. There's nothing like that. There's no constructors. Again, even though JavaScript has many of such keywords, I mean, there's a keyword called constructor, but it's like entirely wrong. I mean, it's just like it's like garbage. Uh, Maybe I should explain a bit. So let me look. Okay, here. So yeah, so once you so we actually covered, that's it about JavaScript object. There's nothing more to it. It's a key value pairs, special behaviors, and each object may link to a parent object called parent, and that's it. And um, so anything you see in JavaScript that seems to behave like the Java or Python's class, they are actually using this object and parent, trying to emulate it. That's kind of what you are seeing, and it does not work so well. It actually does not work very well. Um, and if you study JavaScript, you will start to find all kind of problems. That's why you do not want to think of JavaScript OOP, the prototype system, as the class-based uh, object system. You can read, if you already know JavaScript a bit, then you can read. I show you what function, what section to read. Read the JavaScript object and inheritance section. Now this section tells you properly what is a what is a object in all its manifestations in JavaScript, the language. It's like a mathematical description of it. What does object do in JavaScript? So that's this section. JavaScript object and inheritance. Now after that, then you can read this section. This section is about JavaScript constructors and class. Now this section, all these things are actually they are manifestations of JavaScript trying to pretend to be Java. Okay, that's why then you have this key binding, you have constructor, you have the property called prototype, you have the operator new, like new something, you have the operator instance of, then you have a property key called constructor, then you have the keyword called class, you have a keyword called extends. They are added in 2015. So you got these things. They on the surface, they look like the Java's thing, but they are not. And when you read this section, you will find extreme complexities because it's really impossible to emulate it well. So you will find, some keyword, it seems to do one thing, but only in this special case and not in others. It's very confusing. Okay, let me read the comments, and maybe that, yeah, because I covered the essence of JavaScript object and how and why they differ from the Java and Python's world. Uh, So was it confusing for you to understand JavaScript object system when you first encountered it? Uh, no, it was not confusing for me when I first encountered it, because when I began, I knew there's something kind of, I kind of already read somewhere that JavaScript object system is very different from the Java object system. So I knew the I heard about the prototypes object system. I tried to read Wikipedia. I don't really understand it, but I began my JavaScript journey uh, in depth beginning around 2012. I began by reading this great book, the it's so-called Rhino book. So I actually wrote several book reviews of all JavaScript books out there. You can actually see. So I have two articles. You can go to the URL and read offline. So this page is JavaScript books review. I basically cover all JavaScript's printed books and all JavaScript's literatures online. All of them. Yes, all of them. I give you my opinion of which one is good. Or in, I mean, all in English language. Anything, if you are a JavaScript expert, I will cover your book. You will find it here. Yeah, you'll see my opinion about it. If some online resource is not mentioned here, it's not worth reading. Okay, that's what I say. That's my confidence level. Okay, you can check this out. Now, I started to learn JavaScript from this book, JavaScript, this thick book called Rhino book. This is a superb, excellent JavaScript book. Today, it's not worth it though, because JavaScript has changed, since 2015. It has turned inside out. So this book is only covering JavaScript back in, year 2000s. So, if you are coding JavaScript today, this book is not that useful because you are missing, like more than 50% of it. But I began learning JavaScript with this book back in 2011, when 2000, JavaScript 2015 is not out yet. It's 4 years yet. So and so for that version of JavaScript, that this is an excellent book, and part of the reason is that the style of the writing style, the philosophy of covering a computer language. This guy earned my respect. This guy is what's his name? David Flanagan. I think he works for Mozilla right now. I'm not sure, but anyway, so he covers the language in a style I prefer, which is also the style of my languages, which I call kind of like mathematical style. I mean, but you don't usually want to use that phrase because when you say something mathematical, it scares people away. Oh my God, this is math. No, I don't want to read this style. Um, but basically, it is a mathematical style. Don't worry about the jargons. I'm not. I don't want to pretend. Okay, oh, it's not mathematical, but actually, the nature of this style is kind of mathematical. You call it mathematical style. What does it mean? It just means that you approach the subject in the most logical and in a logic system, like you approach logic system. You remove everything that's not relevant. Okay, You just cover exactly what exactly something do, exactly how it behaves. You describe it exactly in terms of how it uh, relates to other objects or variables, in that sense. You don't give a story like some other book styles, tutorial styles. They start to give you a story. Oh, I learned C++. Then one day I was learning JavaScript. They give you a story. Then they say, oh, JavaScript, the it's the system is then they talk about patterns. Oh, this is JavaScript patterns. Like you have factory patterns. They talk about computer engineering methodologies. Like that. Then some books they talk about kind of like compiler uh, oriented style. They talk about int. Oh, JavaScript number is an int or float. Like what the fuck is float? Then so if you program in C, like you are into system programming type of guy, then maybe those kind of style fit your way of thinking because they talk about CPU, how references works. But that's not but that's implementation. Anyway, so that's about writing styles. So this book I learned from this book. I learned from a lot from it in the beginning. It's a good book. It's a mathematical style, so similar to the way I like. So I didn't get confused because I was reading from a good book, this book. And in the industry, in practice, are they used in a similar manner in JavaScript objects? So in the industry, so as we said, JavaScript object is prototype based system. It's very different from Java. But in the industry, like, do people get confused? Do people pretend that JavaScript object is do the people use JavaScript object just like Java? So that's a question. What's the answer? The answer is it's kind of fairly complex because on one hand they are really entirely different. Okay, on the and if you really try to think of JavaScript object as Java, you really run into a lot of problems. Okay, that's that's a fact. Okay, that's the technical fact. On the other hand, JavaScript language, as we mentioned, the history of JavaScript language is that it's based on scheme Lisp and the language called self object prototype object system, which is entirely different from Java. However, they try as much as possible. They really try hard to make the language appear, just like Java. They hide everything. The object, the prototype system. They try very hard to make it like Java. The syntax, the keyword names, they try to make it like that. So what? So when you are learning Java, you kind of you get pushed into that. So can so the real question is can you really pretend JavaScript um, language like a Java OOP system? It's hard to say. It's kind of yes and no. If you really, I mean, let's say if you are really programming advanced things, let's say if you are writing compiler, if you are working on heavy projects, no. The answer is no. You cannot pretend JavaScript object like Java. No, you really have to understand JavaScript prototype system, prototype based object system. Or in other words, if you have 10 years working in JavaScript, or if you are going to write a JavaScript book that's going to be appreciated by experts, no, you cannot pretend it like as JavaScript. However, if you working in a company, even for 2 years, you can kind of still get away, with not knowing much about JavaScript details, but you won't get far. Now, if you work in a company for 5 years, you'll know you all know all the differences then. So that's the situation. So that's why JavaScript is fairly complicated. Um, okay, thank you, break the loop. And Norman says you can extend by modeling a prototype object to make its children do something different. Yes, exactly. So again, JavaScript, again, like we mentioned, it's just key value pairs. It's just object is just key value pairs, and each object has a parent. It You can have an object that doesn't have a parent. Okay, it's possible. You read my tutorials, I give you details, but usually, basically, all building objects has a parent. Okay, and only one parent, and that parents usually have another a parent of its own, until you have an object that doesn't have a parent. That's called root object. So you kind of have a tree, and also so that's it. So so an object, at any time, an object, you can change the parent. Like, you can say, oh, I don't want this to be my parent anymore. You just relink. You can change the parent to some other object. That's it. You cannot do this with Java. With JavaScript, that is it. That's the design of this prototype based system. You don't have classes. You just have objects. Each object have a parent, and anytime you can change the parent to anything else. You just change it. um, but here, let me mention another. How do you change? For example, you can see all the details. So you can see how to create an object with parent X, get set prototype, prevent adding property, determine type object, clone object. You can see add methods to prototype. Um, yeah, so basically, there's a page that covers how do you change parent. I must mention somewhere here. That I think that's it. Yeah, okay. So what I want to mention is that, however, in practice, actually, Google, basically, in practice, it's not recommended you change object's parents. Why? And here's another very complex situation in JavaScript, because implementation. Google and all the web browsers, Google, Microsoft, Firefox, they implement JavaScript. They put a lot of programmers. They want to make it extremely fast. So there's a huge amount of hack. Incredible. I mean, it's almost impossible for a person to write a JavaScript compiler. I mean, you can do that, but your result will not be comparable to the JavaScript compiler in Google browser, or in Microsoft browser, or in Firefox, because their compiler is hack after hack after hack. Extreme hack. 90% of it is actually, the bulk of it is actually hack to make it extremely fast. So because of that, you have a situation where, because of these compilers, you have a situation that whenever you actually change a object parent, there's a penalty. It makes it slower. It makes things slower. Now, this is not in JavaScript spec. You will not find this warning in any JavaScript spec. JavaScript is designed that you can change the object's parents anytime you want. But however, because of this implementation, because they want speed, it so happens that you don't want to do that, because when you do that, it makes things slow. You know, you'll learn about these things when you get deep. Like when you have few years experience in JavaScript, then you'll hear people say that. But anyway, that's it for today. Okay, my God, this is a long talk, 90 minutes. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Break Loop, and thank you, Norman. I hope you liked it. If you like it, I have a Patreon on my website and PayPal and stuff, and you can contribute and helping support the channel. Thank you guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.